last 1,000. The first meeting I had in 2020 was in the big house, but of course, I didn't realize that was they did the early voting sites and everybody was saying that. There were, I thought, oh, maybe 30 people said, oh, man, this is Texas. Talked to Shannon. Full sign. Reese's, I guess I think that's effective. It's good to know what's going on. Necessarily. Do what you want.
Okay, the meeting's in order. I'm going to ask your brother to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to ask each board member to announce themselves and to declare whether or not there is any conflict of interest for what we're going to cover today.
Thank you, Chairman. Bill Case, I have no conflicts.
Martin Carpenter, no conflict.
Richard Ashton, no conflict.
Craig Kennedy, no conflicts.
Charles McKnight, no conflict. We are going to start now with our old business. There were no public comments. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay, we'll begin with old business now with our minutes.
So did the board have an opportunity to review the minutes? Were there any corrections that needed to be made? Anything that they saw that needed to be done? Mr. Mason. So then if there wasn't any corrections, anything that needed to be corrected, have a motion by the board to approve the minutes.
Okay, may we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
You've heard the motion. You prepared to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. So moved. Now we move on to adoption of the equipment resolution.
Yes, sir. So this is one part that the state required, that once we have done the demonstrations, we've had our meeting concerning the pros and cons. Now that we have done that, we placed it into a resolution that I will send up to the state to verify that this is the equipment that the board of Moore County is looking at for us to be purchased by the county. So did everyone have an opportunity to read that resolution?
Whereas,
Yes, a lot of whereases. Mr. Case, do you need to look at it over before?
I'd like to, I need to see it again.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Thanks. Give me just a moment.
You have more than one copy. I want to refresh my recollection,
I can get a copy for you.
please.
Does anyone else need a copy?
Just one for my record.
Curious. This is preliminarily. Why is it necessary that it be preliminary? Okay, here's the actual words. I'm trying to see. Yeah, it's the same one. It's the final thing in it. Just scroll to the end. I'm not sure what that means in this context.
okay, well, we'll ask her that question.
Thank you.
Right, sir.
I have a question about the resolution, just as to the context of the word. It says that therefore it's resolved that the Moore County Board of Elections hereby preliminarily recommends that the Moore County Board of Commissioners adopt and acquire the following certified voting equipment. Why is it preliminarily? Isn't it?
Because the state makes the final recommendation.
Okay, well, I guess that's all right. I mean, is this the language we've always used?
Yeah, that's the language.
Because if I was to draft it, I would say,
Subject.
we recommend it subject to approval by the state. But, I mean, it's not a big deal if, sure.
But we can make our motion that way.
Well, I'm love to have a discussion about it as to whether we think with the language of that can be improved or whether we're okay with this.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It would be clear.
I would prefer that kind of statement. It's more clear. Preliminary means, are we going to think about it again? No, we've already made a decision.
Absolutely.
We made a decision that this is what we want to do, go with this firm and this equipment. So it's more positive to state it as subject to, I think.
All right, well, if that's the sense of the board, I'll offer a motion to amend this.
Okay.
So when you amend it, I need you to stay so you can sign it so that I can send it up today.
Can we table this for a little bit so somebody can go and reprint this with the phrasing that
Yes.
Mr. Case has talked about?
Well,
And that way we have the hard copy, and then that's what we're actually approving.
Okay.
Let him change. I don't know. Do you have it, Mark?
well, I can very quickly. I got one right here.
That's what you-
This is collegiality between parties.
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell everybody when I'm putting down. Okay, what I've written down before she types stuff, make sure everybody agrees. Therefore, be it resolved that the Moore County Board of Election hereby recommends, subject to approval by the State Board of Elections, that the Moore County Board of Commissioners adopt and acquire the following certified voting equipment pursuant to the General GS 163-165.9A1. Does that sound right? Okay. I make a motion that the resolution so read that we are called upon to vote on.
Okay,
And you can take.
it's been moved and properly seconded. You heard the question, you prepared to vote. Are there any questions? So be it. Thank you, Alon.
Okay.
So moved. We're gonna move on now to the resolution to move the census block, to move that line. Again, if you would remind everyone what that was about, and we talked about that the last time, and we agreed that needed to be done.
So earlier on this year, when I brought before the board that we had the state sends us an audit where we have to look at precinct lines and houses to make sure that they're in the right lines, they're getting the right ballot and everything of that nature. One of the line areas that raised a red flag with the state was this area, which is Census Block 2019. It's in the Pinehurst B1 precinct. It's actually in number 6, where the way that the line is drawn, the West Norwood precinct encompasses this area, but it belongs to Pinehurst. In my system, I have this area belonging to Pinehurst. They vote in Pinehurst. Anything that affects these people is Pinehurst. It doesn't belong to West Norwood, which is Southern Pines. And so, getting guidance from the state, I had to get permission to move this census block area and move it into Pinehurst so that what I have in my system and then what the state will have will reflect together. And so that is the resolution that I'm proposing before the board, that this area will now belong into the pink area like it's supposed to, because it's supposed to be there because these people pay taxes to Pinehurst. They reside in the municipality of Pinehurst, and it should be that way in my system and in the state system as well. Any questions? Did you have a chance to look at the resolution? I have it right here.
The only question I have about this would be, to what extent voters in the area that we're talking about are going to be impacted or should be notified, or are they going to be surprised?
No, so they're not impacted because I have them where they're supposed to be. But in order to change it on the state side so it will stop flagging them, I have to make this move for that so that it will just mirror each other. But there's no impact. Their voting precinct doesn't change. None of that affects them. It's just making sure that when the state reads my data, it matches up that way, and it's not matching.
Was there any problem in the last election with their votes counting, or did the state allow the?
They allow that.
So it's just this map's got to be changed. That's all.
Correct, yes, sir. Did anyone else need to look at the resolution just to refresh? And so what will happen is I will send this up to the state board because by the end of May, any type of changes to precinct lines have to be submitted into the state board. They'll receive that and I'll send that information up to them. No, sir.
They're already voting in Pinehurst, but it looks like they're supposed to be in Southern Pines. That's where
Yes, sir.
the state thinks they're in Southern Pines, even though we have them voting in Pinehurst. And they really pay taxes in Pinehurst.
Correct.
So now it's just making it, okay, we're gonna really make you officially Pinehurst.
Because what happens is, so when the census was done in 2020, It didn't, this is the Pinehurst precinct line, the municipality line. But for some reason, this area came into Pinehurst and it shouldn't have. It should have stayed on this boundary line right here. So technically, these houses are quote unquote supposed to be in West Norwood. But I have them in Pinehurst because I'm going by the precinct, the municipality line of Pinehurst.
And that's where you want them,
Yes.
is Pinehurst.
And so in order to get it corrected, I have to show the state why I'm doing what I'm doing. And this is because they belong to Pinehurst, they pay taxes to Pinehurst. Their municipality law encompasses that they should not be in West Norwood, which is Southern Pine city limit. They should be here, and so I just have to take this block and move them here. And like I said, they're not impacted. They already vote here, they're already in the correct precinct.
And nothing has affected their votes in.
No, nothing ever affected their votes. It's just making sure that when the state looks at my data and their data, it matches what I have.
I'm curious because we're moving a census block. What exactly is a census block from our standpoint? What does that mean?
So so on this map, I have different census blocks. But basically, they use the census to group people to do your, I won't say, help me out. I know what I'm about to say. So, in the census block is where they get all their data from as far as, okay, I have this many people in this housing development, I have this many people in this housing development. There's a lot of census block from Moore County. This is what determines our tiers as far as getting money when it comes to anything taking place within a county. And so I just want to make sure that everybody's in the right spot. So say if Moore County is a tier 1 and Pinehurst is supposed to get money, you're supposed to get money from
Okay.
all the census that you have, but they're not counting right.
All right, I have only one question then about the resolution. And both in the whereas clause, let me just say and again, this may be trivial, it may not. We say in the whereas clause that it provides for the County Board of Elections to direct by resolution that this area that is in the West Norwood precinct be moved to precinct B1. It's not in the West.
No.
It's shown by the census block to be in the West Norwood precinct, but it's not actually in the West Norwood precinct. Is that
in the West Norwood.
the census block? But
That block includes these houses. So that's why I have to take this block out of the West Norwood precinct and bring it into Pinehurst.
No, but the precinct lines are right.
The precinct,
So that's what it's saying.
no, that precinct line isn't right. That's why I had to move it. So the West Norwood precinct actually comes all the way up here, and it crosses the Pinehurst municipality line. It shouldn't have. I don't know when that took place.
well,
Was it that way before 2020? What did it look like in
Yes.
2018?
Do
So
those,
it's been that way for a while.
Yeah.
Nobody really understood what was happening.
do those homes have a West Norwood address?
No.
They're in Pinehurst.
And it's never affected.
That's why
No.
again, I'm sorry if I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be, but the census block shows it in the West Norwood precinct, but in fact, as the Board of Elections is operated, it is not in the West Norwood precinct, it is in the Pinehurst precinct.
But for the language for the state, they're seeing it in the West Norwood precinct, and I have to show that. So they're seeing it in West Norwood precinct. So I'm telling the state that these people who were in West Norwood precinct do not belong there. They need to come into the Pinehurst B1 precinct.
Well, that's why I've asked the difference between the census block and the actual operation of.
They're paying taxes to Pinehurst, right?
Yeah.
So if we change it the other way, then everything's got to get reversed and now they become part of Southern Pines?
No, they'll still stay in Pinehurst, but then what you have is, we would have to constantly shift in between. If they're having a municipal election like they're having now, I would have to shift these houses out of Southern Pines municipality, election and bring them into the Pinehurst municipality election. I would constantly be having to shift them back and forth. And this way, if I just take this block out of West Noble and bring them into the B1, it saves me that trouble.
And so the state understands what you're doing,
If I
and
send
they
that
agree
resolution-
with what you're doing, they just need the
State
paperwork from you and from us.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
So they repeat that for me to make sure that the language is what the state understands for you to sign.
Okay.
Who requested the change? Was it the state or you?
When I found a mistake, I asked the board to request a change. And so far, this is the only one that I've had to do where I've requested a change. Everything else is just.
And the state
Well, let me-
understands and is approved.
Yes, sir, because I've been speaking with the GIS person up there, and we've been going over this around, so that I'm aware.
Can I just, while you're standing here, ask you one thing? If in the whereas clause, would this be erroneous if we changed the whereas clause to say, instead of saying to direct by resolution, that this area that is in the West Knollwood precinct, take out that is and just say shown, direct by resolution that
But
this
it's
area
not
is shown?
shown. It's actually, these houses are in West Oakland. They actually,
I'm-
because of where this line is drawn, they actually are supposed to belong in West Oakland.
It's administrative error that needs to be corrected, is basically, yeah.
All right, I think the statement of what we're doing, I just not sure I'm grasping the distinction. That's okay.
And like I said, I've had someone from the state to review that.
Okay,
for me, so
that's
they-
fine.
And they're happy, they're waiting for it, and
Yes, sir.
good to go.
All right.
So we could view this as a work simplification for our.
No, that's okay. Well, we might want to erase.
I know, I was gonna say, I know.
So if the board is in agreement with the resolution,
I'll move we approve the resolution as submitted.
I'll second.
It's been moving properly second to accept the resolution. Are there any objections? If not, so moved. Vote. Yes, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Director, while we're doing this, we vote on everything we get to vote on. Could you begin going over the new business? There's nothing to vote on here, just what you need to inform us about and to see if anybody has any questions.
yes. So on May the 9th, we will be conducting a simulated equipment testing of the new machinery at 10 a.m. And the reason for that is since we're getting so close to board member appointment, I was made aware of that if I don't continue to keep the same board members, and I don't know that your decision as if you're staying on the board or not, then I would have to do the whole process all over again as far as the demonstrations, and announcing to the public about the different equipment that we're doing. So in order to keep moving forward, the state does allow us to do a simulated test that is open to the public, that everyone can view, where basically we will run ballots like it was one stop or an election day precinct, so that we can see how the equipment handles our information. We can use that to count for our,
We send out a public notice, right?
yes, sir.
Well, I think it's important that we do that before waiting too close to.
What should I do? Some of this, where you want to sign.
Walk through his name.
Okay. Mark through it.
Yes,
Rich is going to sign it again.
yes.
They will be arriving here in the training center. It will be announced, and anyone is welcome to come to watch the demonstration of the equipment.
Does anyone have any questions about the testing on the 9th of May?
10 o'clock.
And how will, maybe I missed something, but how does this differ from the testing we've already seen?
So that's just a demonstration, and this one, they actually will set up, we will set up not like a precinct, but like a precinct. So we'll run ballots like if we were doing absentee. We'll run ballots for so many precincts. We'll run ballots for provisionals. We'll run ballots for absentee by mail. And we'll run all of those ballots through the equipment. We'll get the data like how we would normally pull the data off the equipment, upload it to make sure that the equipment is reading the way that it needs to read. And then that will satisfy a requirement from the state board where we won't have to wait until the municipal to test it into a real precinct.
Is there, just curious, is there a state rep there, or are we supposed to in some way communicate with the state to say the test went fine, or how's that?
Well, I have to notify the state of the testing. Somebody from the state will probably be here to help me with, to view the test as well.
And if there was something that didn't go right, what would happen then?
They would have to correct it before we could purchase that equipment.
Okay. I'm sorry. Oh. Is the, when does the equipment expected to arrive?
So once we do the simulated test, we will, we have to give our findings to the state. The state will have a board meeting, don't know when. They will let us know when that board meeting is. They'll make the final call. Then we go with our county commissioners to complete it within, probably in the new fiscal year, July. And since they're here, I can have it within a month's time. It could even be possible to have it be able to use for this municipal election, which is what I would like for it to be done, so that the poll workers and the staff and everybody has the opportunity to get familiar with it, yes.
That's why it's important to get this test out of the way, and people need to be aware and have the opportunity to.
Yes, sir.
Board member appointment.
So as you know, your board member appointment will be coming up. Your chairs would have reached out to you to fill out the necessary paperwork. That's just me reminding you that it is coming up. Once the appointment is done, you will have your swearing in July. But I don't have no paperwork. We don't really know anything once it takes place. So if whatever your decision is, please make sure that you reach out to your chair. I do know that the Democratic chair, Mr. Holland, retired. I guess that's the word to say. So you would have to reach out to Mr. Wool, Simon Wool, who's the new Democratic chair at this time. I did email him that information as well, that I don't have it here. I don't have that paperwork and how he can go about getting it to make sure that he's aware that this is coming up. Mr. Meadows, thank you.
Okay.
And then our last one, I just wanted to introduce to the board our newest employee. This is Nicole Hovland. She took over the administrative assistant position
Hello.
that Courtney had. So far, how long have you been here?
This is the third week.
Third week. She's been here 3 weeks. Right now, she just kind of, we're trying to ease her in so we don't scare her away. We're glad that it's a municipal election so she can kind of get her feet wet before 2024. But I just wanted the board to be able to place a face with the name and the board members here.
Welcome. Welcome, yes. Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we depart today?
No, sir, I don't have anything.
Well, if there's nothing else, somebody could make a motion for an adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So adjourned.